because there are no enough hospitals. Because there are no enough beds in the hospital. We know of patients told to go and buy their own syringes, gloves, basic medicine because the hospital pharmacy is empty. Now imagine through the 115 million top-up, over 500 members of parliament, we are talking about billions of shillings. That money could fix broken CT scans at Mulago Hospital. That money could also ensure that no Ugandan dies simply because they could not afford a private clinic. We are here today because we cannot justify buying 315 million shillings cars when our nation is struggling and our hospitals are struggling. Members of the press and the citizens out there, we are here to say that the life of a Ugandan at Mulago is worth more than the comfort of a politician in a luxury car. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we are not here to fight individuals. We are here to fight a system of extravagance that is leaving an ordinary Ugandan behind. When we are to talk about the service delivery, ladies and gentlemen, Uganda is currently navigating a period of fiscal strain where the rising cost of debt, repayment is increasingly competing with the funding of essential public services. While the government frameworks, like the National Development Program, aim for ambitious growth, actual delivery on the ground faces significant funding and essential gaps. The 2025-2026 budget highlight critical crowding out, in quotes, effect to a debt obligation. They take priority over service delivery. Number two, if we were to talk about the Uganda's public service, Uganda's public service debt has recently surged approximately Uganda shillings 118 trillion. That is US dollars 32.24 billion. As of the end of the 2024-2025, the financial year representing roughly 51.8% of the GDP. This marks a significant increase from Uganda shillings 103 trillion, that is the previous year, officially breaching the government's 50% debt to the GDP. For the first time, the domestic debt, that is approximately Uganda shillings 62.2 trillion, has overtaken the external debt, approximately Uganda shillings 55.9 trillion. The debt service intensity here in Uganda, servicing is projected to consume up to 45.3% of the domestic revenue by 2026. Domestic borrowing in Uganda here, a sharp rise in domestic debt to finance budget deficits, often a higher interest rates of 15% to 17% than the external concessional loans. Ladies and gentlemen, the service delivery here in Uganda is in strain. Increasing interest payments are reportedly diverting funds from vital social sectors like health and education. Now we have the sustainability outlook, ladies and gentlemen. While the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, and the Ministry of Finance still classify the debt as sustainable, they warn us of a moderate risk of debt distress. You can see that the country, we are at risk. And so when we hear the members of parliament, when we hear parliament deciding to give each member of parliament 315 million from 200 million, it is really a disaster for this country. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite the Honorable Nana from PFF to read the press statement. I thank you.
Putting citizens first over luxury cars is why we sit here this morning. Good morning, members of the press. Good morning, fellow citizens. We stand before you today not out of malice, but out of deep, burning love for our country, out of concern for Uganda. We are here to address a matter of national conscience, the proposed increment of members of Parliament's vehicle allowances from Uganda shillings 200 million to Uganda shillings 315 million. As we speak, the ordinary Ugandan is digging deeper in their pockets to afford the most basic of commodities. Our hospitals are crying out for the lack of essential medicines. Our teachers are asking for a living wage. Doctors are on strike every other 2-3 months. Yet in the halls of Parliament, the priority has shifted toward upgrading the luxury of our representatives at a cost of over 1.7 billion shillings, Uganda shillings. Why are we concerned? Why does this concern us? The maths of this is simple, but the ethics are broken. An extra 115 million shillings per member of Parliament out of the 500 plus members of Parliament. It may seem like a small number to some, but collectively, top that up, alone it could build 30 fully equipped health centers or renovate hundreds of primary schools across this nation. If you have been to places out of Kampala, you may know the state of some of the schools in these remote districts. Children sitting under trees and broken buildings for class. We cannot therefore remain silent while the gap between the leader and the led grows wider each day. Public service is a sacrifice, not a business venture. By demanding 315 million shillings for a single vehicle, for a member of Parliament, for our leaders, these leaders are telling us that their comfort is more important than the services they were elected to provide or stand for. Our demands, therefore, are clear. Stop the increment. Stop the revised amount of money needed to buy one vehicle for 500 and plus members of Parliament. We call upon the Parliamentary Commission and the Executive to immediately halt this increment and maintain the previous one or lower it altogether. Join us as we rally Ugandans, as we all come together as Ugandans in a way of rallying our minds to correct the wrongs within the leadership we have today. This peaceful concern that may lead to a demonstration should we not be heard is set out to fulfill the duty that we once again invite you to join us by saying no to extravagance and yes to better service delivery.